Welcome people of the World Wide Web. So this is Chris from Cypher Sigma Screen Time, and it's the weekend. It's my second movie review. So we have Project Hail Mary. Hopefully you have seen my review from yesterday. If not, please do go visit it out. Much appreciated. And then obviously this one is Ready or Not 2. So it's been a very interesting week. So at the beginning of the week, after 3 weeks, I managed to pick up the DVD of Ready or Not 1. Watched it, wasn't the biggest fan of it, and then obviously later on that week I then went to see the sequel for it, all worked in. So this is a 15 rated movie. It's an hour and 48 minutes long. It comes from the original directors of Matt Bettinelli, Olfen, if I've got that, and Tyler Gillette, and it restars Samara Weaving's Grace McCulley from the first film. So if you didn't know what the first film was essentially she gets indoctrinated into a family. They have this game or this ritual that they play in the evening. She pulls a card, hide or not, essentially because these family worship Satan, and kind of Satan gives them good luck. They have to complete this before dawnbreak or they all die, and it ends up she survives and they all die. This second one then takes it a step further. Essentially, we follow on, or literally follow straight on from the first movie. We're introduced to Grace's sister Faith, played by Catherine Newton, obviously from the Ant-Man Quantumania and a few other bits. And essentially, you have these main houses. It says there's 6 houses. There's now missing 2 of them. So 4 are... there are 4 seats now, and essentially she is kind of the overall target that essentially because she's killed one house, essentially whoever kills her from the other houses then becomes the new kind of top dog. And that's how essentially this is her being kidnapped, taken to the house, and then these four houses all trying to kill her to become the grand supreme kind of general of Satan. And as I say, I actually did enjoy it more than the first one. There is a nothing after the credits or anything else, so you happily go. So we'll stick the spoiler warning up and we shall get into it. So as I say, this is quite it's got a fairly packed out cast. Obviously, as I said, Samara Weaving as Grace, the main character, and her sister Catherine Newton as Faith, Grace and Faith. Funny, it turns out fighting Satan. Make it up what you will. Elijah Wood plays the lawyer, kind of this official person that takes around this big book and basically tells people what they can and can't do. And then we have at the houses, we have the Danforths. So you have their dad Chester, who basically asks his kids to kill him because he's getting old. And then you have Sarah Michelle Gellar as Ursula and Sean Hatoshi, if I pronounce that right. He's as Titus. So they're twins, brother and sister, and basically they kill him so they can enter this competition. They also have a cousin Kip. Then you have the Zing family, so you have a female one. You have the Rajan family, so you have 2 brothers and a wife from there. And then you have the El Kadi family, where you have the kind of dad and then 2 kids. His daughter was the ex of Grace's Alex, I think his name was, who died in the first one, and obviously there's a bit of revenge there. So that is the cast for it. Got big into it. So we start off and then replay the scene of Samara Weaving's character Grace coming out of the building. It's all on fire. She's kind of unconscious. She passes out. She's put into an ambulance. She's managed to be resuscitated, and then she wakes up in the hospital. There's a policeman. Basically, she's handcuffed to it, and him saying that you've got a lot to answer. Well, they found 2 bodies, which I believe are the 2 female assistants that got killed. So their bodies have been found because of all the birth family have exploded, and she's basically due to be and he's basically going to take her down for questioning. During the process of this, her sister turns up because she's her emergency contact, and you find out they've not spoken for 7 years, and it's all a bit of a catastrophe. Obviously, you know, from the first one, she comes from a foster family, and this is a biological sister, but she left when she was 18, and her younger sister was, I think, like 15, to try and make it on, and just their lives have been a bit hectic. Her sister says she's got this marvelous life now, and says, like, why are you here? Grace says, you know, you won't believe me, and ends up telling her, and she thinks she's a bit kind of talking silly. The policeman comes back and starts wheeling her through the hospital until a knife comes out of nowhere, stabs the policeman, and he goes down. And you have one of the fifth. So this is the guy from the fifth household. Now I've just remembered it. He's basically trying to attack the bride early before the game begins. As he goes to kill her, he explodes her, Grace and Faith. Obviously, I don't know what the hell's going on, but Faith is a bit like, okay, I can sign a see. The elevator opens, a gas cannon comes in, and Elijah Wood's there and goes, we've got the person, and he's a bit stupid for doing it before the ceremony comes. That's when we go to the house and we realise essentially the rules of the game are this: when a house is killed off by one person that is the hide or seek champion, so to speak, then they all have to gather, and then like at midnight the games begins up until I think it's dusk, if I've got that right. And essentially the head of each household gets to compete, obviously because the Danforths have twins, they both compete, and that's why they killed their dad off, so they could compete for this. And then the head of each one, if you are killed by another household, your whole family explodes, and if they don't meet this requirement, they also explode. Or if you try to do the tournament too early, like one house did it, his whole line explodes. That's why there's only 4 of the households now rather than 6, what would have been at the first movie. This is when it all gets chaos, obviously. The Zing family basically have a get out clause that if Grace marries one of the boys or her boy, basically that's a clause and the game stops, and it's a kind of get out of jail. While she's trying to kind of deliver that fact, she ends up stabbing the El Cadillo man. So her whole family, or her and her son that's in a different room, they both explode, and that's quite a little bit of a funny scene. Because Cadillo, he goes, or Ignacio, Francesca, his daughter, comes in with an RPG, fires it the wrong way, and then it's just them trying to get through. And then this kind of culminates in that Titus, he is kind of the shy brother of the twins, and Sarah Michelle looks after him. But as it comes further on, you realise that actually he's a demented soul, and there's no good in him. He ends up killing Sarah Michelle Gellar. Spoiler alert. And the only way he basically grabs Faith, beats her to death, or almost to death, goes to kill her, and then Grace agrees to marry him. They have a ceremony in the basement of this kind of complex that they've got, and this kind of open pit with all these dead bodies is on there. As the marriage is completed, Grace's character gets the knife kind of that you cut yourself on, stabs Titus in the neck, he dies and falls into it. She then becomes the grand kind of master. And she says, can I do what I want? And she's like, fine. She goes, okay, as my first rule as like the head of the family, I will take myself out, the head of the family. I'm no longer associated with them. I'm no longer to their rules or anything. Then Elijah Wood tells them that there's 3 minutes left. She pulls out the ring, throws it into the pit, and basically says, and then Elijah Wood says, basically somebody has to have it or they're all going to explode. And basically anyone can. So all the help that are down there, everyone's diving into this pit, all trying to stab each other and everything. Time goes up, they all explode. Elijah Wood's kind of stuck there. And then the girls walk away with the goat that kind of was going to be sacrificed. And the end. As I say, I enjoyed it a little bit more than I did the other one. Very interesting facts and stuff like this. The goat that bows, that wasn't planned. The goat did do it. And this film was originally... So the writers of this were planning a sister kind of comedy duo with Sarah Weaving and Catherine Newton. Then when the studio came back to them, basically gave them the opportunity to write a second one, which is obviously kind of greenlit. They were like, great. So they kind of integrated their story, which is why Sister comes along in this movie, and why they had a script for a different movie and have kind of side shifted it to make it better to suit this. And yeah, it was all right. There were some funny little bits, like when the Zing family gets and a boy does, and a few people run kind of behind statues and stuff. And there was a few little bits that were, but they were like, they weren't like ha funny. And again, I found when I compared this to like Tucker Dale versus Evil, that it's kind of trying to be funny, but kind of trying to be demonic and stuff. And it just is, for these all families that have stayed alive for like loads and loads of years and killed like multiple people throughout all of this, because this obviously hasn't happened once. That they're just the most useless people in the world, and they're all getting, you know, I said like when Ignacio is trying to shoot her with like sniper, he's like must have gone for a few clips and misses her. Um, his daughter holds an RPG the wrong way. Now, I don't know if you've seen them. From what I kind of know, ain't there instructions on this? And it's just like they must, like, how did they kill anybody in this? They must be like the most useless people in the world, because Samara Weaving's character, the fact them putting her in a two bride outfits and stuff, like when she was in the hospital and doing the gown, she, oh, I need to put that. It was good that they kind of carried it on, but I feel like going through everything she's gone through, having like having no heartbeat, being brought back, and then in hospital with all her injuries and stuff, like she's going to be a mess. She ain't going to be a do-lot, but magically she then seems to find the energy somewhere. I know it's fictional and stuff like this. I did thought the sisters worked well. To be honest, if there had been a film where the two sisters worked well, the characters aren't that greatest written and ain't very funny. You know, there's one of the Rajan's wife. He's a bit of a scaredy cat and stuff, and I just didn't really like his. Even though he come out at the end and then explodes and stuff, they were just they weren't necessarily relatable or weren't the best written in my eyes and in my opinion. As I say, I rate it 5.3 out of 10. I say I enjoyed it for a one-time watch. I'm now going to sell and have listed the Blu-ray for one. I'm not going to keep it. These films are a one-time watch for me. I'm glad I've seen them. To be honest, mostly out of all of it, I was quite impressed by Samara Weaving's acting, and I haven't been impressed with a lot of stuff she's done. So, I mean, she did that for me. So I hope that, you know, saying her and Kathleen Newton I thought worked really well. So, but the other characters I just weren't too impressed. They weren't too distinctive enough. Maybe it's because I've seen too many movies and there's so many stereotypes and things have been done that everything just blends into one. But that is it, because I could probably rant on this film for a lot more. As I say, it wasn't a bad film. I say, and you know, maybe if they do a cheap double pack, I may pick it up at some point if it's few quid from a charity shop. But at this point, it's a one watch for me. Have you seen Ready or Not 2? What were your thoughts and feelings? Let me know in the comments down below. I've been Chris Forsyth, Screen Time. If you're new to the channel and new to the whole format, I've got plenty of videos. If you want to hit that subscribe button and follow a few more, I would very much appreciate it. It does help me increase the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.